Hello, welcome back to Bowling Over 50 Live, BO50 Live. Hopefully we're a little bit better today than we were last time. We're trying a new streaming service out today, and oh man, all this technology for old people is getting almost more than I can manage by myself. But I'm learning. I'm getting better. I hope it doesn't sound like we had sound on the intro. Still working on that, but now I'm using a different stream platform, and we'll see how that goes. I've got a lot of things to get into today. I've gotten a lot of comments and people asking me questions that kind of want me to go more in depth with some of our topics that we've done in videos. Like always, I've got the latest version of the PBA. This is the Illinois Classic that's up behind me. One of my favorite PBA bowlers, one that I just enjoy bowling with when I get a chance to bowl with him, is on this show. He's in this first match, as a matter of fact. It's Sean Maldonado out of the Houston area. And just enjoy being around that guy, the Candy Man. And I asked him one time why they call him the Candy Man, and he's like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I chew gum all the time. I don't know. So, anyway, just he ends up not doing extremely well. He's got a bad back, and he's dealing with that. And but I do enjoy being around Sean, and we're going to have that playing in the background here, especially if you don't want to look at me, which I completely understand. Oh, my goodness. Well, I think my number one fan, I'm not even sure he's a fan, but he just hangs around the channel. I do appreciate Big Johnson 7415 is here. And Scott, I appreciate that. I mean, I know I'm taking baby steps. I'm learning. I actually work for a living, so sometimes it's fairly difficult to do all the editing and shooting of videos and then getting ready for this live stream. And the last few days I've been trying different streaming services, so you might have see things pop up live and then immediately get erased because I'm just kind of playing around with stuff. And we've got somebody from Israel. Welcome, shalom. I hope you are safe there in Israel, so stay safe. That is an interesting place in the world to be right now. So please be safe there in Israel, and thank you for watching. And anyway, we're going to get into a few things today. I've got a long laundry list of questions, and I'm not real sure if I'm going to be taking these in order. But so I had a question about the balls that I own, and it's actually quite an embarrassing array. So I'm only going to go through some of the balls that I own. That I like and how they're drilled, and so anyway, you've seen some of these balls on the channel. You've seen some of them in some of our videos, and I'm going to kind of talk about them just a little bit. I'm going to start with one of my favorite balls. I don't throw it all the time in league, but you'll see it in some videos coming up, maybe the end of this month. It's the high speed. One of the things that I find interesting is, because I have another question here, is the difference between high rev rate bowlers and somebody like me. And here is one of the differences, is that I tend to like bowling balls that most people on the tour don't throw or did not throw. And weren't good sellers, and so they don't last a whole long. They may be out for a year or something, and I tend to like those balls. And as a lower rev rate guy, I think that does make a difference. But I also am playing around with drill patterns. I had a conversation, a matter of fact, I think it was today, with Big Johnson about, I used to throw only Storm. I found Storm equipment set up for my game a little bit better than some of, well, certainly better than Motive. I've had some Motive balls in the past. They're just a little too slow for my lack of rev rate. People like EJ and Santu in this tournament here make Motive balls look absolutely amazing, but the bigger cores, the slower cores that Motive tends to make don't really set up very well for what I like to see. Um, I had a Jackal Ghost that won me a ton of money. Just happened to be in one center in the United States that I threw it in. And then I've had, the Jackal, the Golden Jackal, and a few other things. And I just find that Motive is a little too slow for me. Storm products really had the bigger whippy cores, and I tend to like them a whole lot more. So as I have switched over to Brunswick, one of the things that I've had to do is play around with drill patterns. And so I do buy some of these bowling balls that are a little unique, and put interesting layouts on them to try to find a shape that I like. And is it good to start bowling with urethane? I think is what that is saying. This new chat here doesn't send me all the information. I'm not sure I'm going to like that very much. Let's see if I can. Well, maybe not. I'm just going to have to probably wing it right now. Yeah, urethane is one of the balls that we threw when we first began bowling. Back when I first started in the late 70s, early 80s, urethane just came out. And yeah, I think we didn't have a ton of rev rate back then. I was a stroker while I was in high school. Tried to incorporate some of the power game into some of the things that I'm doing, but I'm still not a powerful player by any stretch. The joke around with the kids is, if they can read the label as the ball's going down the lane, then I'm not much of a power player. Hurtful, funny, but hurtful. So yeah, I think urethane's going to give you the early hook, and it's not going to hook down lane. Urethane will drive better than, say, a plastic ball or something like that, because it actually does. Most of the urethanes right now have a core in them, so they're going to drive through the pins a little bit better. If you have a little lower rev rate and certainly some slower ball speed, I wouldn't even mind picking up a urethane ball, making sure you get it polished up, though. Don't hit it with a lot of surface. And anyway, so yeah, don't hit it with a lot of surface. Keep it clean. It'll hook early. It won't hook down lane. You'll be able to control the pocket that way. So the first ball on my list was this high speed, and you're going to see it in some videos. I have it drilled really weird, and I'll show you in the video how I have it drilled. But I kick my thumb way away from the mass bias, and I'm going to kind of get into why I do some of those kind of weird things. So when you look at my ball, the thumb is actually drilled in the high speed label. And what that did for me is take a ball that didn't have a ton of overall hook, and didn't flare very much, and I made it flare even less, and made the ball go down the lane quite a long ways. It still has a lot of hook, but it's not super sharp off the back of the pattern. And so I drill a lot of things pinned down, and I play with my thumb closer to the mass bias, and then I kind of work it away, and then that gives me some room in my arsenal. And boy, we've got a lot of chats. I'm going to have to get to them here in a little bit. Then I have an intense mindset that's kind of my ball up from there. And I've kind of split the difference on my thumb. It's kind of midway between the mass bias and the label itself. So I haven't got it kicked as far away, which means it's going to be a little sharper down lane. The one with its kicked well away is long and gradual. The intense mindset is a little bit more reactive when it finds dry. And then I've got a few other balls that kind of work in that same vein. I've got the Black Widow Mania. I actually have one drilled pin up with my thumb near the mass bias, which makes it very responsive when it finds dry. When it hits dry, it goes left. And then I also have one drilled pin down, very similar to the one that I have for the intense mindset, which makes it a little smoother, a little, in my opinion, for me, that ball should be earlier if you read everything about the way I have it drilled, it should be earlier. But for me, that ball gets down the lane a little bit before it wants to hook. But it's not as responsive once it hits friction because it is pinned down. So I've got 2 of those, and I'm kind of taking these in order from, these are all my pearls. I carry with me a No Doubt. You've seen that in some of the videos. That's my asymmetric pearl that I absolutely love. Threw it Thursday night just on a lark. On league nights, I play around with stuff. I'm one of these guys that want to be versatile, and so I don't throw the exact same ball every league night. There's a set of about 6 balls that I take that I kind of interchange, and so I decided to start with a No Doubt. Kind of mid-game 2, I had to get out of it because it was a little too slow, and I went to a Pinup Mania, and that was absolutely the wrong move. So I go from 240s to the 220s, and so I went down to a smaller core, which was, you've seen this ball as well, the Hater, which has a little smaller core, a little bit more responsive. When it hits dry, it's a little more angular, but it doesn't have a ton of overall hook. It's less hook than the Mania. Less overall hook than the Mania, but more responsive to friction than the Mania was. And then I go 210. So I probably should have stayed with the No Doubt a little bit longer. Oh my goodness. Let me get through this list here. And then I've got, after the Mania, then I've got the Tour V1, which is a hybrid, which is very long and very angular and stays in my bag a lot, because if you've watched any of my videos, you'll find out real quick that I don't like a ton of hook down lane. It's fun to watch. I coach boys a lot, and my question to them is, do you want to hook the ball or do you want to strike? And they look at me kind of funny, and I just tell them, I strike more than you do. You hook the ball a lot more than I do, but I strike more than you do, because I like to play straight, and I fight with bowling balls to try to keep my angles in front of me as much as possible, and I just kind of play the lanes as straight as I can play them. And I strike more than those kids do. I just do. And I'm trying to get them in the mindset that hooking is fun. It looks great. I can hook the ball. Don't get me wrong. I can get left and I can hook the ball. You'll see that in a video coming up pretty soon. I just choose not to. Don't need to. Not on a house shot anyway. I mean, down the road on some sports shots, I'm going to have to hook the ball, and I certainly practice it, but anyway. So I don't particularly like my Tour V1, but it does have a place. Just won't ever throw it very much in competition as far as league goes. It's just too much of a ball. It's just way too long, and I can't really get left with it because of my lack of rev rate. If I get left and try to hook the thing, then it goes too long and gets offline, down lane, and a lot of over-under, which you get that anyway. You get a lot of wet-dry on a house shot anyway. They get cliffed, and that is definitely not a ball when you want to be throwing when the lanes are cliffed. And I talked about the Hater. I've got the Crown Victory, which I haven't really found a place for it on a house shot. And really, I've had to work on the surface on that ball because out of the box, I just wasn't a big fan. And then we start getting into my big covers. The ball that I like the most for my big cover is my Mindsets. I've got 1 pin up, 1 pin down, just the old regular Mindset. I have a Extreme Envy that I keep a lot of surface on, because that'll be the ball that I start with on a flat, long oil pattern. Then I've got a Black Widow 3.0. Oh, I forgot about my Black Widow 2.0. It's a hybrid as well. Love that ball. Don't throw it on a house shot very much, but it is it's probably the second pearl ball out of my bag minus the Mania. Mania will be the first one out of my bag. because it's just got a lot of hook. And then I can ball down to the 2.0, which gets down the lane a little bit further. It's a little more angular, and it's drilled a normal kind of pin up with my thumb fairly close to the mass bias. So again, mindsets, that's kind of where I start. Or if it's really oily, I'm going to go with the Extreme Envy. Then the pin up or pin down Mania. What else do I have? I've got an. I've been struggling with a symmetrical solid that I like. I've got a CUDA, a Super CUDA, and that ball is great on fresh. It's awesome on fresh, but once it sees dry, it goes left, and it's very uncontrollable, which is so unlike what you would normally see in a symmetrical bowling ball. And so I've recently gotten the new Anger, and that ball is a lot more tame. It's almost too tame. So I've got these two symmetrical solids that I'm kind of fighting with, trying to figure out what surface needs to go on them to get them to perform the way I want them to. There's a video coming up, I don't know, a few weeks, where I throw the Anger a couple of times. And it's in a ball check, kind of choosing a bowling ball, and I throw that Anger. It looks phenomenal. It looked really good, and that was bad. That's bad because it was on a burn-up house shot. So, what else do I have? If I've got a ball way down, I've got a bubblegum Vibe, which, just with my low rev rate doesn't see the light of day very much. I do have a Black Widow Ghost, but it's fairly unique because it's very similar to my 2.0. So I ended up hitting it with 360. So now I've got a pearl ball that performs similarly to a solid. Yeah, if you see that ball, it just looks like chalk. I hit it pretty hard, and hey, it looks good that way on certain patterns. I mean, I can go from a solid, let's say the Extreme Envy, that's got 360 or 500 on it, and then go right into this Pearl Ghost, Black Widow Ghost, with 500 on it, and looks really, really good. It gives me a little different look. And then my urethanes, I've got a purple hammer, black hammer, and the new Crown 78U. The purple and the black don't flare very much, and the Crown 78U flares a ton. So that gives me some urethane options. That's kind of a breakdown. I have a lot more bowling balls than that, I'm sorry to say. Well, let's see if we can get to some of these chats and if I can figure out how to read some of these. Kind of going from the bottom up. Let's see. Norm Duke played straight his whole career. I think he was pretty successful doing it. Low rev rate as well. Yeah, but I also remember the days when Norm Duke would hook it too. He wasn't scared to get in there and hook the ball. Walter Ray liked to play straight, but Walter Ray can hook it too. All those guys could do just about anything, but what Norm would do is he didn't want to get in there with the kids, and so dadgummit. Oh, hold on, here we go. Maybe I can figure this out. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Come on, Alan, look at him go with technology. We still. I hope I wrote it right. Yeah. Well, urethane. It's spelled a little differently than that. But I know what you were talking about. My favorite is the Black Widow 3.0 for a strike ball on fresh. It seems like it worked well with when you start patterns was standing on 25 and my eye at 10. Had a 189 today with the 3.0. For me, the 3.0, I do have one. I think I listed it here. Because I had so many balls, the Mindset and the Extreme Envy in that same category, and the 3.0 actually hooked for me a whole lot earlier. I didn't need another ball in in that area. So what I did is I took the 3.0, shined it up to, I think right out of the box, I hit it with 3,000 or 4,000, and I haven't touched it since. It is lane shined, it is shiny looking, and it still hooks pretty early. It's in a video coming up. I think these videos are kind of running together, but there's a video coming up where I throw it first and it strikes. And so then I ball down to the 2.0, same cord, different cover, and end up choosing that ball, I think, in the video, if I'm not mistaken. But for me, the 3.0 was a little early. So if you are struggling with rev rate and you want to get into the middle of the lane, kind of like what he's talking about, starting at 25, trying to hit 10 down lane, I think the 3.0 is a phenomenal ball for that because it will dig in the oil. That ball needs oil. That ball hates dry. And so I think that's a great option. I like my 3.0 in the right circumstances. First game in league, 10.5. My widow is polished. Okay, which one? There's only like 1 billion Black Widows out there right now. You kind of need to know which one you polished up. But like I said, I took the 3.0 and I did polish it up. And I guess what he's saying is his 3.0 is polished. Well, that makes sense. It does make sense. That ball was coming straight out of the box, was really, really, really early. Black Widows are popular, Big Johnson. And they all have the same gas mask core. That's what they call it because it looks like a gas mask. And it's just, they start playing around with weight blocks. I mean, not weight blocks, but covers. And they just kind of wrap that same weight block with different covers just to give you different things. And that weight block is phenomenal. And you wrap it with the right cover, and that thing will do amazing things. My first ball is a black pearl hammer. Okay. If that's a picture of you and you got those guns, more power to you. Us low rev rate guys, I use urethane on short patterns. I did a video where I said you could use it on a house pattern, and you certainly can. I mean, I can strike a lot with urethane ball, but I've got a lot of high rev rate bowlers on my team, whether it be when I sub on Monday nights or with Bill on Thursday nights, and my daughter and one of my other partners who likes to hook the lane. And if I use urethane up the ditch or inside the ditch, it really affects them adversely. And so I try to avoid that as much as possible. The black pearl and my purple don't flare at all, so it just tracks oil, and I try to avoid that with them. I mean, I could break it out, and I can probably average 230 with it, but I can also average 230 with a hater or a no doubt, or so why put them through that? You might want to explain what is pin up and pin down. Okay, so the pin on a bowling ball is the top of the weight block. When they pour the cover, the fill and the cover around a bowling ball, it's held up by the top of the weight block, which is the pin. In theory, that is the center of gravity on the top part of the ball. And by the distance of where you drill your fingers, in accordance to that pin, change the shape and the basically the numbers of that bowling ball, because most of them are, well, you can have a pin and be a symmetrical ball. But now you're going to get into an area where I am not the most, my expertise is not in ball drilling. I will be quite honest with you. Pin up, if the pin is up, that means it's above your fingers. So your fingers are here, the pin would be above your fingers. That tends to make the ball more responsive when it finds friction. When the ball is drilled pin down with the pin below your fingers down here, the ball becomes less responsive to friction, but is a little makes it a little smoother, so it doesn't jump when it finds friction. So if you're wanting to be more angular and more of a check mark down the lane, you're going to want to drill your balls pin up. And if you want things to be smoother, more round, especially with an asymmetric ball, you drill them pin down, meaning pin below your fingers. Now, one of the things I've told you is that I don't like big check marks. And again, let's be fair. Low rev rate, my big check mark is not like a high rev rate big check mark. It's but it can become uncontrollable for me. And when you get a big check mark, that typically means the ball goes longer down the lane, saves up enough energy. When it hits dry, it goes left. And that's kind of the idea of drilling it pin up. It conserves energy as it's in the oil, and then when it hits dry, it goes left. Sometimes I miss to the right. My natural miss is to the right, and if I have a ball that's drilled to go too long and I miss right, it just keeps going right. I had a short video with the hater that just came out recently where I miss, and I didn't really miss at the arrows. I missed with launch angle, and I got it to the gutter way too fast, and that thing went out to about the 2 board. It was ugly. It was just an ugly, ugly shot. But that's what you get with a pin up pearl. If you make that miss, you're going to do something stupid like that. And so those are the things I try to avoid, if that makes any kind of sense. So hopefully that gives you a little idea of what pin up and pin down. Pin up, more responsive to friction in general. Pin down, less responsive to friction. The hook, the total amount of hook that's in that bowling ball doesn't really change. The ball still hooks the same, has the same hook potential. It's just how it responds when it finds dry. And so that's why you drill them pin up or pin down. Most of my equipment is drilled pin up, but I always want to have either something in a same ball or something in a similar ball that I carry with me that's pinned down, even in league. So lately, one of the things I told you in league is I play around with stuff. I threw a no doubt last Thursday, the one where Tori shoots 810. I threw the Mania most of the time, and then I had to switch ball down to the hater. I'll throw a 3.0. I'll throw a mindset solid. But what I've been carrying to the lanes lately is I'm carrying the No Doubt, which is symmetrical, Mania pin up, my Mania pin down, my hater, that's 4, a spare ball, that's 5, and then I'll bring a pin down. No, I've been bringing my pin up mindset, although I haven't thrown it. Yes, that's a lot of pearls, because I play to the right. I play on the gutter, or close to it, not on the gutter. I've had too many comments when I say I'm on the gutter, and because I'm going up the gutter. I'm not trying to throw it and play the 1 board challenge. That's ridiculous. I could do it though if you wanted me to. If you want to go 1 board challenge, I'm not your guy. I'll kill you. But I like being up the gutter. I like to get the ball 3, 4 down lane. That's kind of where I'm aiming. Lately, bowling with too many people that are throwing in the track area to 3 or 4 with big covers, like the 3.0 or a gem, and I know I can only last there for maybe a game and a half, and then I've had to kind of move inside. So I've got a video about that coming up fairly soon. Do you think it's possible to switch to a no thumb release even at age 50? What's your opinion on this style? No thumb or two-handed? That would be my question. No thumb or two-handed? No thumb, the Tom Doherty look, I don't recommend for anybody, especially over 50, unless you're super strong. Too many things in your game are different in that style of bowling than a one-handed game. But two-handed, let's talk about that just for a second. So Walter Ray Williams Jr. is has the most titles of any bowler. I mean, everybody considers Jason Belmonte is the GOAT, but I need to remind people that Walter Ray has more titles. He has more titles because he got to bowl more tournaments. Since Jason's been on the tour, they haven't had as many tournaments as Walter Ray, and I guess the argument for that would be if they had the same amount of tournaments that Walter Ray had in his prime, that, you know, Belmo would have passed him. But one of the things Walter Ray said in a magazine is that the two-handed bowling style is the most, this is not a quote, but this is the idea, which is the most inventive thing in his lifetime when it's come to bowling. And Walter Ray has a 300 in the PBA throwing it two-handed. I have been in the center when Walter Ray has been throwing two-handed. He carries a few balls with him when he bowls that are two-handed bowling balls, which caused me to always bring one two-handed ball with me when I go to a tournament. I have one ball. It's a rattler. And it's a pearl, and I do throw it when I have to get left and be near the gutter, which has happened. I will go two-handed. So do I think it's possible? I totally think it's possible. One of these days I'll show you my two-handed game, and it will be another one of those joke videos because it's ugly. My daughter that I taught and my son, who was also a PBA bowler who I taught, were much better at it than I was, but I do think it's possible. If Walter Ray can do it in his 60s, I would say we could do it in our 50s, and I do think it's a great idea. If I could switch and be accurate as I am now, one-handed, if I could do that two-handed, I would switch right now. And I think I've said this in a video as well. My kids wanted to bowl. I told them if they're going to bowl, they're bowling two-handed, period. It's the most innovative thing to come around. The power that you get offset any lack of accuracy that you have. So my problem with two-handed is I don't have enough ball speed and I have too much rev rate. I have clocked my two-handed in the 500s, but my ball speed is about half of what it is one-handed. So that's my problem. Works great if I have to be left, but any other time it's not fun. No, I've already done the Norm Duke. Have my high schoolers watch? No, they probably don't even know who Walter Ray Williams Jr. is. They're looking at Belmo. They're looking at Simonson. They're looking at, Chris Vi. These are the guys that they're watching now. They're not going to watch a down and inner, just kind of stroke it on the gutter. That's just not what they want to see. They get enough of that when they watch me bowl. And I guess what I should tell them is that, you want to know where I come from? Go watch Walter Ray. He never liked his little jerky hop that he did, but it seemed to work pretty good for him, as well as throwing horseshoes. I've been watching a lot of current Walter Ray videos. He's bowling lefty now and high average as well. I think he hurt his right shoulder or something. Yeah, I haven't heard that. And I haven't seen Walter Ray. I haven't bowled a tour event in a while. I've got an actual shoulder injury as myself. I'm trying to get a stable of videos so I can keep current, so I can then go to the doctor and find out when I'm going to have surgery. I think I'm probably going to need 2 months of videos done and in the can before I go have somebody look at this, but I am kind of struggling right now with sleeping. Bowling hasn't been much of a problem. Again, I talk about it in my videos that I don't use a whole lot of muscle when I bowl. So having muscle problems in my shoulder is not that big a deal. It is a big deal when I'm trying to really, snap on it, but it still doesn't hurt all that much. It's sleeping. And I had trouble last night sleeping, so a lot of trouble last night. Gonna try something different tonight. Actually, I've gotten online and gotten one of those pillows where you can stick your arm through it, and it hasn't really helped. Am I from? Pennsylvania. Well, if you can't tell from my accent, and I can show you a picture of my horse out front, you'll find out real fast I'm from Texas. So I'm quite a long ways from Pennsylvania. Don't get up there a whole lot. Got in that area a lot more when my daughter was bowling junior golds a lot, and so might be up there. Not this year. Don't have any plans to be up there this year. Have you had that up today? I'm not real sure what you mean there. 3.0. All right, gotcha. All right, so kind of moving on with some of the things that I've been asked questions about. We were talking about pin up and pin down, which was on my list. Going back, had a video about symmetrical versus asymmetrical. I think I had a question about that, several questions about that again. I really wish they would go and look at the video, but we probably need to expound on that. Some of these videos, initially I was trying to keep them between 8 and 12 minutes. And I can't say everything that I need to say. And again, most of my videos, all of my videos, are unscripted, kind of like today. Unscripted, just me vomiting at the mouth and trying to dispense whatever knowledge I do have. But here's kind of what you need to know about symmetrical and asymmetrical. So asymmetrical balls well, let's start with symmetrical. Symmetrical balls are, a ball is round, and that would be if the weight was distributed all the same way inside of a bowling ball, and it was round and there was no core, there was just a ball, that would be a symmetrical ball. The weight of that ball, the balance of that ball is the same top to bottom as it is left to right. So a symmetrical ball now is basically that. It's, a cover with filler, and then it's got a core that is symmetrical. It's not necessarily round, but the weight of it is balanced left to right and top to bottom. So when it is drilled in such a way that the ball is a little out of balance. X and Y and top and bottom are not lined up perfectly straight. They're at an angle. And as you roll that ball, depending on how you roll it off your hand, that ball tries to, it's a physics thing with things in chaos want to find themselves in balance. So if it starts in chaos, it wants to find its balance point. And so that twisting and turning of that core to get balance to roll towards the pins causes just a little bit of hook. And so how you drill that symmetrical ball and how far that X and Y are turned determine how much hook is actually in that ball. But because it is fairly similar left and right and top and bottom, it makes a very smooth shape. Versus asymmetrical, which the balance of an asymmetrical ball is different from left to right or different from top to bottom, meaning there's part of that core that is completely unbalanced. There might be less weight on top, more weight on bottom, more weight on the left and less weight on the right, and that makes that ball asymmetrical. It's not the same left and right and top and bottom. So when you drill that ball, you drill it in such a way that when it's rolled down the lane, it is in chaos. and it wants to find a balance point. So that ball will find its balance point faster than a symmetrical ball because it is so far out of balance. And that act of getting itself righted and being balanced so it will roll makes the ball sharper, makes it hook not necessarily more, but faster. That's probably the right way to explain that. So there's your difference between symmetrical and asymmetrical. If you like smooth shapes, you don't want things to be herky-jerky, then, a symmetrical ball is the perfect ball for you. I like asymmetrical balls drilled to take some of the asymmetrical aspects out of the ball so it does respond to friction fairly quickly and get into a roll fairly quickly, but it's not making a gigantic check mark that I can't control. That is the longer answer to what I tried to say in that video. I hope I made that somewhat clear. Get to a few more questions here. YouTube put several Walter Ray videos in my feed. He lives and bowls in Florida. Yes, he does. And the videos are him lefty. Haven't seen any of him two-handed. They're out there. You can find them. I think they have a video of his first PBA 300 with him bowling two-handed. I think you can find that somewhere. I've seen him bowl two-handed. It ain't gorgeous, but it's effective. Yes, a bowling ball is similar to a gyro. It will process until it reaches balance. That's kind of what I was. There are some good videos that I have watched from, I think from Storm, that you can kind of. They don't do a great job of explaining all this, but kind of give you an idea of. Now, I've got a video coming up. Hold on, let me look. I'll try to find it here in a little bit. I've got a video coming up really interesting where I roll balls off a ramp. And I take different balls. And the problem with this video is it doesn't do exactly what I thought it was going to do. I did it with an engineer. And he laughed at me the whole time. And I'm like, that makes no sense why it's doing what it's doing. But you need to go watch that video. You'll learn really, really quickly a ball doesn't need you to hook. That's kind of the point I was trying to get to. But I was trying to get balls to roll straight. And my thought process was completely and totally wrong. I learned a ton from that video. Even helped me with figuring out drill patterns. So I did learn a lot. But it took me like an hour to even get close to trying to figure that deal out. So can't wait for y'all to see that one. Difference between me and high rev rate bowlers and these layouts. Okay, that's I've had that question earlier. It was in one of the comments. And man, that's kind of the whole reason why I started this channel. Is I will watch every ball video. I like to watch what balls do. And then I would go buy those bowling balls, and I could not get those balls to perform the way the gentlemen who were reviewing them were making them look. As a matter of fact, if I drilled them fairly similar to the way they made them look, my ball did something completely opposite. And so I started to realize that guys with lower rev rate, like me, that don't have all that snap in my wrist, just everything performs differently. So I initially started this channel to do ball reviews for people over 50, and I'm still going to do those. I'm kind of fighting with a few things because I can't afford to spend $200 on a ball and review it for you. I'm not making that much money on YouTube right now, if any. So this turned into more of an educational channel on all the things that I've been fighting over the years, starting as a stroker, learning to bowl as a stroker, coming back into bowling now with all these power players and trying to figure out how to compete with them. And so I've had to practice a lot. And as I've practiced, I've learned things. And one of the things that I have learned is that when you have a higher rev rate, if you start getting into the 400s, your ball definitely performs differently than the way my bowling ball performs. So, and it's not quite the opposite, but sometimes I feel that way. So if somebody drills a ball pin up with their thumb very close to the mass bias and they throw it and that ball just whips off the spot, I drill it that way, same kind of way that fits my positive access point, and throw it, and it doesn't seem I've got balls in my arsenal that whip harder off the spot than that one does. And I wish I could tell you I had figured that out, and I have not. Again, I've got 4 or 5 bowling balls that have been plugged and re-drilled, I don't know, half a dozen times, because I'm still playing around with layouts, because again, storm balls tend to fit my game a little bit better, so I'm looking at layouts to help fill gaps in my bag and get balls to do what I want them to do, and surfaces and things of that nature. And it just, watching a ball review just doesn't help me at all. So I was buying bowling balls that I could not get them to do what I wanted them to do. So I don't know, a couple of years ago, I said, I'm scrapping all that and do things that make sense for me, find patterns, layouts that make sense for me to get the balls to do what I want them to do, or something close to what I'm seeing the balls do in videos. And so the big difference between me and high rev bowlers is the balls look completely different. And I hope within the next year that I can start doing ball reviews that make sense for bowlers that have a little lower rev rate, and drill them in ways that make sense for people like me. Now, I bowl these PB events, and when I do that, even regionals against the kids, my goal when I get in the building is not to win. I don't think that's realistic. Now, I did bowl with a gentleman by the last name Delaney in a regional, and it was a short pattern, and he's a senior. Actually, he's older than I am, and he crushed it and won. So it's not completely impossible, but I go into these things realistic, and I'm just there to compete, and I just don't want to get last. Now, when I bowl 50 events, that's a little bit different. And I want to compete with these kids. I compete with the kids in this area all the time. And there are times when I walk into the house and they know what the pattern is and they know what I'm going to be throwing, and some of them don't even want to bowl the tournaments because I'm going to crush them. There's other times they look at the pattern and go, Alan absolutely has no chance tonight. So I just like to prove them wrong. So that's kind of the big difference between me and the kids with the higher rev rate is everything's different. Everything's backwards. It almost seems like everything is backwards. Let me read a few more here. Let's see. Darren Tang started as a one-hander. He bowls two-handed full-time now. Yes, he does. And I think he's now even his first few months bowling two-handed, he was still shooting his spares with one hand, and now I think he's shooting all of his spares now two-handed. And it's made him a different bowler. It just has. He was a good one-handed bowler. He wasn't as good as his brother Mikey, but Mikey was one of the most talented bowlers who never worked at it and left the tour because he just didn't. I don't know. He has a TV pro shop and he had a lot going on there, and I don't know why he left, but seems to me like his brother worked very hard at it and Mikey didn't have to because Mikey was just that talented. And so and Mikey still bowls one-handed. All right, I get this question all the time. I'm going to answer it here. I've answered it in other videos. I'm going to answer it I've answered it in comments. Why am I so far from the foul line? All right. And I think I'm going to be answering this question as long as this channel is up, but here's the answer again. So I had knee surgery. When I got back into bowling many years ago, this is bad. So my father passed away, and I moved my mother, who, by the way, was an extremely good bowler. Amazing. My dad was too, but my mother, man to man, woman to woman, my mother was a much better bowler. And she hadn't bowled for years. And I moved her to where I live now, and she wanted to join a league with me. And I was really wanting to do that, but she needed a knee replacement. So I said, Mother, you go get your knee replaced, and I will join the league with you. And so she did, and I did. And I hadn't bowled. I was a golfer for most of my life, and so I joined the league, and literally, the second frame of league, I tore my meniscus in my left knee. So the rest of that season, I bowled off my right foot, right-handed bowling off my right foot, averaged 180. Pretty proud of that. My first year back. Over that summer, I had my knee scoped and fixed. Came back to start practicing again, and I was very scared of falling. I wasn't very stable on that knee, and I was scared of it, to be quite honest with you. And so I was taking these short little choppy steps, and I didn't want to get too close to the foul line, because if I tried to slide and couldn't slide, or everything was wrong, I didn't want to foul. And I wanted some room so I didn't fall over. And so I was way back from the foul line. So kind of kept practicing and working at it and getting closer and closer and getting my speed up with my feet. Speed up with your feet equals speed with your bowling ball. And was getting closer and closer to the foul line. And I noticed that my ball was going too far down the lane before it hooked. And so I went, okay, I need to slow the ball down. So the way you slow a ball down is slow your feet down. And so I just kept getting slower and slower. And so I ended up with these short, choppy steps. And as I noticed, I was further and further back from the foul line. But as I was doing that, the ball was hooking in the right spot. And then I could move left, where before, when I was closer to the foul line and with a little faster foot speed, I could not move left. The ball would just sail. When it was time to make a big move left, I couldn't get it back to the pocket. So I started thinking, well, the ball just needs more time to hook. Not only that, but I'm 6'4". Don't have a lot of knee bend because I have a bad knee. And so to get the ball on the lane fairly quietly without a big thump is I kind of have to throw it out a little bit. Sometimes worse than others. When I start not thinking about getting the ball down on the lane, I tend to hit up on it and it goes a little too far down the lane. But I just have some natural loft just because I'm 6'4" tall and don't have a ton of knee bend. So I have some natural loft. So I needed all that time on the lane for my ball to slow down, because a ball has to slow down before it hooks. And if I was lofting it to the arrows and with a faster ball speed, I just never gave the ball time enough to hook. And it made more sense to get back away from the foul line to give the full 60 feet. So now, you'll even see me now. If I have to get left and hook the gutter, throw it over the gutter cap or something like that, I might be 4 or 4.5 feet away from the foul line, just giving my ball more time to hook. I don't have a problem with ball speed. My ball speed's pretty good. So that's just a tool that I use to give my ball more time. So there you go. That's the reason why I stand so far from the foul line. I know this isn't going to stop all the questions, but therein lies the reason. Watched the Super Senior Tournament in Michigan. 110 entries, men over 60, women over 50, and they were killing it. Several 300s and final match in the 260s. That is, man, you know, you can bowl really well into your 60s. You can bowl really well into your 70s. And my mother bowled really well for her into her 80s. So, bowling is a lifelong sport, guys, and that's kind of the reason why I'm here. I want to help you out. TK is in the chat. What's up, girl? Mention the event because most of the bowlers stood taller and released the ball higher like you. I'm 6'1", but always crouched lower and rolled the ball on the lane. Yeah, just shot a video about head position. Don't think it comes out until April. That's going to be one I really want you to pay attention to. Because if you're having trouble at all with accuracy or thumb downing the ball or any of those issues, there are some things that you can do, and some things you definitely don't want to do. And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag on that one, and it may be a month before that event comes out. I mean, that video comes out. All right, a couple other things I wanted to address. This was mentioned in some of the comments this week. Columbia 300 has announced that it is going away. Very, very sad, and I'm going to tell you why I am sad. My very first ball, which a lot of people my age first ball, was a Columbia 300 white dot. And I ended up, as I was getting older and stronger, I kept getting white dots that were just a little heavier and a little heavier. And so up and through maybe late 70s, all I knew and all I threw was white dots until I got my very first yellow dot. And then after I got my yellow dot, then I got a Brunswick LT48. Johnny Petraglia, one of my favorite balls. I love that ball. Hard rubber. And then from there progressed into urethane. So, but I'm super sad that Columbia 300 is going away. They're going to continue to make the white dots until their stock is depleted. They're going to honor the warranties for all white dots and all of their equipment through the other Brunswick 7 brands until through the life of that warranty. But sad, Columbia 300 is not going to be a thing anymore. Gone the way of AMF. I don't know if you guys remember AMF, which is now 900 Global, but the old AMF balls, one of the very first urethane balls. And I was an AMF guy. I got the very first AMF urethane ball when it came out. I was in the pro shop business. Got my first one. Got the black one, got the yellow one, got the blue one, got the gray one. I had the whole arsenal of AMF angles, which was the urethane ball back then. And I showed up to a tournament with 6 balls one time, and you would have thought I was a professional. People shouting out to my daughter, "Need to try your style, it's hurting my back." Hey Tori, congratulations on the 800. Yes, you need to try my style. Again, there's more reasons for that. It's kind of head position. And Tori responded to the people in the chat. Had a C300 white dot, a burgundy yellow dot, and a blue dot. Yeah, I never had a blue dot. I never got the blue dot. I think my mother had a blue dot, but I never got one. Again, 300 Columbia 300 going away. They still have a Pulse out there that is a really good ball. I'm sure the prices on that Pulse are going to be coming down. So if you want to get one of those Pulse that's solid red, kind of looks like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The other thing that I wanted to do today is talk about the video sequence that happened over this last week since the last time I was on live. And first I need to apologize. Some things happened that weren't supposed to happen. Again, technology is eluding me. Um, so we were supposed to have a video come out called the No Step Drill, and it was supposed to come out on Friday, and it did. Like it was supposed to, and I was kind of wanting it to set alone because I think that drill is very important for finish position. If you notice, the way I've been doing these first videos is I start at the foul line and I will be gradually moving myself back to the dots to the to the start position, which is exactly how I do my clinics. I tell people you start with bowling, how you finish, and the no step drill is the finish. And I think people need to master this particular aspect of the approach before they move on to anything else. So I would have liked this video to be a little bit more prevalent. It kind of got buried a little bit. If you're watching this, go watch the no step drill. It is by far the most important drill you can do to help you with your finish position. So if you are having trouble getting the ball off your hand, if you're having problems with your balance, if you are having problems with your release and getting all that stuff in timing, the no step drill is the most important drill. And I do that drill. And Tori's online right now. She will tell you I do the no step drill in practice still. And it's just a fundamental staple in my practice session. I spend 5 to 10 minutes with no step, and then we'll have another video coming out, which is the next one in the series of that, which is the one step drill. And I moved to that, and then I moved to the full approach. There's another drill in between there that I'm afraid to do for people over 50, so I may just avoid that, which is the power step drill. If you want to fall down, that's a great drill if you want to have to pick yourself up. And speaking of which, moving right into that, what ended up happening on Friday is another video came out on top of the no step drill, and I probably shouldn't have done that. It is a joke. Was meant to be funny. Nowhere in there was I trying to be serious at all. But because I played it so straight and without any laughter, I probably played it too straight, and people thought that it was real. It's not real. It's a joke. I did do a pretty good job of doing these joke of exercises and applying them to the bowling lane, so I thought that part was pretty funny. But I was really hoping that video would get a lot more traction, and it hasn't, because I've got the no step drill and this hilarious exercises right on top of each other. So I do apologize for that. That should not have happened that way. But if you haven't seen it, when you start it, just remember it's a complete and total joke. It's something my wife and I have laughed about on a daily basis when I'm trying to get my clothes on or do different things around the house. Playing with the dog on the floor and I can't get up. It's, getting older is legit, man. It's not for the weak. It's not for sissies. Yeah, I've earned it, but man, I've got to do something about this thing that's preventing me from getting up off the floor, putting on my underwear, picking up my clothes, washing my feet. It's a joke. It is. I had some non-bowlers watching it, and they thought it was hilarious. So, and then Tori and I did a video right after that came out on Tuesday, throwing plastic, where she got her butt kicked, which is not unusual. I kick her butt most of the time. and we were throwing plastic. Um, the, the main comment I got was that I wasn't throwing it on the gutter. I really wasn't meaning to say that I was on the gutter. I was going up the gutter because I knew I couldn't be on the gutter because the ball wouldn't hook. Tori showed that several different times. So did I. I threw it out there towards the gutter, got it to the 2 or 3 board, and it never came back. And that's kind of the way the pros were handling that. They started really deep up against the gutter and then kind of migrated left and trying to find a little bit more oil and a little bit more oil with those plastics. The only thing that they did differently than what Tori and I were doing in that video is they did hit all their plastic balls with a 500 pad to try to get them to hook a little bit earlier in the oil. I wasn't going to ruin my spare ball like that, but those guys get those for free so they can crack those covers as much as they wanted to. And they did. They were hitting them with 360, 500, and just cranking on it. And the whole purpose was at the U.S. Open, they weren't allowed to throw urethane. So they had to find a way to manage the pocket, and it was going to be one of those patterns that spares were premium. And so they just wanted to leave things that were makeable, and the best way to do that was to throw spare balls up the gutter, on the gutter. Tori and I were throwing it up the gutter. And so if you want to work on your accuracy, grab your spare ball and throw a couple games with it and see what you can score. You will learn real quick whether you're accurate or not because you cannot miss. If you miss right, it stays right. You miss left, you've got a chance it might hold. So I had more miss room left than I certainly did right. But it is a great way to find out where your accuracy is sitting. If you can shoot 2-0 with a spare ball, then your accuracy is pretty darn good. So I encourage you to take a look at that spare ball challenge. And okay, Tori, you don't beat me every night. I think I beat you last Thursday. Come on now. And my average is higher than yours. So there. Yeah. And then something happened today that here's where I lose it on the technology. What ball to use was actually supposed to come out on Thursday. It came out this morning at 12 a.m. That was not supposed to happen. So let's talk about that video for just a second. It's gotten a lot of hits because I knew it would, the way I announced it. What ball to use? So the short version of that, it's whatever ball you have that without doing anything weird with the way your axis rotation, if it was just a natural way you throw the ball, you choose whatever ball you do naturally that gets you on that 5 to 7 degree angle rolling at the pins. The ball needs to hook. The ball needs to skid. The ball needs to hook, and then it needs to roll. And it needs to be rolling at the pins between 5 and 7 degrees without losing any energy. So the whole premise of the video is I threw a bunch of balls down the lane and tried to describe their shape. Of course, I got them completely backwards, but I think as I was watching it, I think you get the point. If a ball rolls too early and hits the pins and deflects, then it's lost its energy and it's not the right ball. If the ball is still hooking when it hits the pins and never rolls, the ball will deflect. And the reason for that is it's centrifugal force. As the ball is hooking, it's still out of balance and it's not balanced rolling forward. So at this point, the only thing keeping that ball on line is the friction on the lane. And that can be interrupted by another force like a pin. So if centrifugal force is still causing this ball to want to ride to the right, and it gets hit by a pin, then that ball will deflect and go to the right. So you don't want a ball that's hooking all the way through the pins. You want the ball to hook and then find its balance point and start rolling towards the pins 2 or 3 feet before it gets to the pins. Or even 2 feet. 1 foot wouldn't be that bad either, as long as it's rolling. If it is still hooking when it hits the pins, the ball will deflect. If it is rolling too early, the ball will deflect. Bill calls it hitting like a marshmallow. All those things, you kind of watch the ball as it exits the pin deck. If it is exiting the pin deck on the 9 pin or right of the 9 pin, then the ball is either hooked too early and it's rolled out and lost its momentum, or it is still hooking when it goes into the pins, and that is very easy to see. And so that's why you want to never take your eyes off the ball. When the ball hits the pins, watch it go all the way off the pin deck and see where that ball exits. If it almost hits the 10 pin, you got a problem. If the ball hits on the 9 pin, you're okay. If it hits left of the 9 pin, you're perfect. And if it splits the 8 and the 9, awesome. That's what you want. So, the way to choose a ball is the ball that does those things the right way, the easiest on you. The ball will tell you if it's the right ball for you or not. And then when do you switch balls? Well, this is not part of the video, but if you are moving left and trying to find oil to try to keep the ball in the oil, and trying to keep that ball on that 5 to 7 degree angle, and you're still 10 pinning because that ball doesn't either have enough beef, or it's got too much beef, or the cover's too strong, or the cover's too weak, you should be able to notice all those things as the ball exits the pin deck. And at some point in time in the league, you may just have to switch balls. Or you can be an idiot like me last Thursday who started with the right ball, oddly enough, and thought, well, it's been a game and a half, and if I move left, this ball doesn't look very good. Oh, I guess I need to change balls. I probably just needed to stay where I was and stop overthinking it, which I have a tendency to do. So I should have stayed with that, no doubt, because it was giving me every off hit in the world. And then I changed balls to the Mania, and I had to be a little bit more perfect with it. And so then I balled down again to the Hater, and that ball looked awful. And I kept trying to make it look good. Therein lies where most bowlers get lost, is they pick a ball and they think, well, this ball should be a natural progression from the ball I started with, but it's not working, so I'm going to make it work. And that's where you get yourself in the most amount of trouble, or at least for me, that's where I get myself in the most amount of trouble. Because in my mind, in my stupid brain, I am totally convinced I can strike with any ball. And I can, for the most part. But the ball you want to choose is the one that gets you to that strike or that position between the 1-3 the easiest. Yeah, I know when you read the title, what ball to use, there's maybe more advanced answer to that, but there's really not a more advanced answer. When you're in league and you're practicing, throw a little bit of everything. Kind of get lined up with one ball, go to another one, throw that one, and see how it goes through the pins. If it goes through the pins better, then go with that ball. If the first ball is going through the pins and you're not having to work for it, stay with that one. I don't always throw 2 or 3 different balls in warm-up. If I don't like the way the first ball is going through the pins, I will switch. But sometimes I'll switch and practice just to see, okay, what ball am I going to go to after this one doesn't look good anymore. And because I'm a low rev rate bowler, the higher rev rate bowlers sometimes don't have to switch balls at all because they can just battle through it and they just get left and keep getting left and just hammer on it even more and they're fine. Us lower rev rate bowlers, it's nice when we can stay in the same ball for 3 games, but it's rare. We either need to switch to something that doesn't hook as much or something that hooks it even more so we can get left. So it's just a question of watching the ball exit the pin deck. And where does it exit the pin deck? I will say it one more time because I think it's very important. If the ball exits the pin deck right of your 9-pin and you're right-handed, wrong. It's either wrong ball, wrong area of the lane. If it hits the 9-pin square on, you may be in the right ball. You just might need a little bit more oil to get that ball to be a little sharper. And if it hits the left side of the 9-pin, you're in pretty good shape. And if it squarely hits the 8 and the 9 as it exits the pin deck, you're in the perfect ball, in the perfect part of the lane, and everything is great for you. Just means you're probably going to move a little earlier, but that's kind of the ideal situation, is that ball splits the 8-9. That's perfect. Okay. Any advice on starting a sport shot league? My hope is to work on my spares and work on my physical game. So you're starting a sport shot league, or you're trying to create your own sport shot league. I'm guessing you're starting a sport shot league. Hoping to work on my spares and work on my physical game. Well, sport shot league will do that. Need to kind of ask yourself these questions when you get into that. Are they really going to be giving you sport shots? Sport shots are 3-1 or less. Anything more than 3-1, 4-1, or more is more of a challenge pattern. And they can go up to 6 or 6 to 8-1. I've seen a lot of sport shot leagues that don't do anything less than 3-1, meaning they're not going to give you a 2-1 or a 1-1 pattern. If it's a challenge shot, which they typically are, 6-1, they'll call them a sport shot league. Any advice? Well, if they show you what the pattern is for, and what I'm assuming is a lot of these sport shot leagues leave the same pattern up for 3 weeks, and then they switch. If it's a different one, hopefully they will give you a graph. Okay, so let's talk about, and I don't have a graph to flip up here, but here are the things that I look at when I look at a lane graph. And I know there's more to this. This is the basics, because every sport shot pattern will perform differently in different houses. So the same pattern here where I bowl will look different where you bowl. So and it depends on the lane machine, and it depends on the oil, and there's 1,000 different things that the pros look at. So here's where the first thing I'll look at is the length of the pattern. The longer the pattern, the closer to the head pin you typically need to start, in general. There is a rule of 31, so you subtract 31 from the length of the pattern, and that should be pretty close to the board that you need to be aiming for down lane. So if it's 48 feet, you will be looking somewhere around the 17 board down lane that you need the ball to hook off of. So that's the first thing I look at, is length of pattern. Anything over 43, 44 feet is considered long. Anything less than 40 feet is considered short. There's a few other things you can look at on the length of the pattern. It's how far it oils. There's a forward oil and then a reverse oil. And most centers don't have reverse oil. They just do forward oil. So where the darkest on the graph is where the forward oil stops, and then the lighter areas is where it's brushed to. So you may have a 48-foot pattern that's only oiled to 30 feet and then it's brushed to 48. So you kind of want to look at that. I look at volume. Your typical house shot will have anywhere from 24 to 26 milliliters on it. So if it's got 30 milliliters, you know that there's a lot more oil out there. And then I look at the ratio of the pattern inside to the track area. And your typical sports shot will have 3 units of oil in the middle of the lane to 1 unit of oil in the track area or outside the track area. And so 3 to 1 is pretty flat. I've bowled on some 1 to 1s. And pretty much a 1 to 1, what it means is you throw it right, it stays right. You throw it left, it goes left. You're bowling in a phone booth. There are some nuances on the sheet that you can look at. Is look and see where they are not oiling on the gutter. Recently saw a lane graph of a 40, it was a forward oil to 30 feet, brush to 45, dead flat 1 to 1, except if you looked at the 3 board 1, 2, and 3, there was no oil. None. They didn't oil it at all. Excuse me. So normally I would say, okay, it's 45 feet long. My break point's going to be 14. 45 minus 31 is 14. And so that I would be normally looking at the break point at around 14 down lane. I think the units of oil were 26 or 27, so it wasn't an outrageous amount of oil. It was heavier, but it wasn't outrageous, and it was considered 1 to 1. But there was this 3 boards on the outside that they weren't oiling. So I knew that the gutter was going to hook. So first thing I started with was a big ball, big cover, something like a Gem or a Extreme Envy or your Black Widow 3.0 or any of my mindsets, although they have smaller cores. And I'm going to throw my first shot at the 2 or the 3 board. I'm going to move way right, and I'm going to start there. Now, I say this. It doesn't matter if I look at a lane graph and say that I should be playing around the 14 board on the inside part of the lane. My first shot is going to be up the gutter. Not necessarily on the gutter, but up the gutter. I want to see if somewhere between inside the first arrow, if it's going to hook at all. That's the first thing I do, no matter what the pattern is. And then I just kind of inch my way in, keeping everything in front of me. So if I'm throwing at 4, I'm going to throw straight up 4. And then I'm going to move 3 or 4 boards left and throw straight up 7. And then I'm going to throw straight up 10. And then I'm going to throw straight up 12. And I'm going to see what the ball is doing and deciding whether I need to kind of belly the ball or not. So it gives you an idea of what the lane is giving you. And if I throw it up 4 and I get a little bit of hook and I know that I've got hook another board to the right, I'm playing the gutter. Now, it may not be a big ball like an MV or something like that, but I might go to my CUDA, I might go to my Anger, something symmetrical that's not going to overhook down lane, and I'm going to play the gutter. As close to the gutter as I can get. Or if it's a urethane night. And let me be very, very clear about me and urethane. I don't hook urethane. I am not one of those guys that are going to get left and just bang on the thing and try to hook, 10, 12 boards with urethane. That's not what my goal is. My goal is to be on the gutter or somewhere near the gutter and throwing it that way. And if I have to move left, it's not going to be with urethane. So there's my advice for starting in a sports shot league. Start every time. Start on the gutter. Kind of keep everything in front of you, move everything left a few boards for the first few shots. See if you can get a read on what this lane looks like, and that's why I don't pay a ton of attention to the graph itself. I want to see what it's going to do when I actually throw a shot. So, man, I have talked for an hour and 25 minutes without stopping. If you have any more questions, get them in right now. We're going to shut this thing down in about 4.5 minutes. I got through all my list. Please go back and watch my joking video. I think it's absolutely hilarious. And make sure you hype that thing, because I'd like to see more people seeing that video, because I spent a lot of time on that one and it was fun to do, and I think it's hilarious. And then I do apologize for 2 videos coming out basically back to back in the spare ball challenge and what ball to use. What ball to use is obviously getting more traction than the spare ball challenge, although that was fun to watch with me and my daughter. I think you get into the woods about weeds about oil patterns. I think he's asking about joining a sport league, not starting one. Advice: you would try to get the info on what the pattern they're using. Yeah. Yes. Okay. The next question is, well, next statement: I made friends with some pretty good bowlers. I'll be watching them and adjusting best as I can. Hey, that is very, very smart. Something I do too. That's what the pros do, by the way. They pros will look at other pros, what balls they are throwing and where they're throwing them. Matter of fact, that's one of the things ball reps do, is they go around and to the pairs that people are about to move to, and they tell the pros what ball is being used and where they are at the arrows and where they are down lane. And that helps the pros as they move to the next pair know what ball to throw. And then the pros look around. They're always looking around and looking at what balls are being thrown and where they're being thrown and where people are scoring. It's amazing. One person starts just tearing it up, and then you're going to see all the pros throwing very similar balls in a very similar area. It's a very copycat situation. You find somebody that's doing it right, and then you follow them. Maybe I did get into the weeds about oil patterns, but I think that is another video. It needs to be, because I think people do get intimidated by those lane graphs and don't know what they really mean when you're only really looking at 3 or 4 different things on them. Have fun with the Sport Shot League. Sport Shot Leagues, we've got one here in the summers that it's more of a tournament. Love doing those things. Well, because I usually do fairly well in them and make a little money doing that, and because I'm pretty good on sport patterns, and the reason why I am is kind of how I told you to play it, is start right, move yourself in, find the spot, and then start throwing strikes. You will work on your spare game during a Sport Shot League, because your misses are magnified, and you're going to leave some stuff you don't normally leave. So get ready for that. And if you're going to practice for that, start trying to leave some weird stuff and trying to pick it up, because you're going to be leaving some stuff. I'm going to try and keep doing these lives on Wednesdays at 5:30. It's a good time for me. We're getting a lot of people after the live is over watching them, so I appreciate all of them. I think I got my camera situation figured out. Somebody commented that they couldn't see my face, so I got me a light so you can get on my face a little bit so you can see how ugly I am. And yeah, I enjoy doing this. I love talking bowling. And I did have this thought today. And here's something: if you've made it this far in the video and you've watched this, please comment later or send me a message later. I am watching some new content coming out, some people that are fairly well known. They're starting to do some things, and I feel like bowling's going to slowly make a comeback. But as a bowling community, And the PBA professionals are our light into the world, and getting people to see what we're doing in bowling. The PBA are our beacons for that. Um, but bowling's just one of these things that you can do and you can have a blast with and have fun, and even little things will help you improve. And so I just was thinking today, I was like, what can I do? I'm doing this for our older bowlers and our beginning bowlers. We have a lot more beginners than I think we do older bowlers watching these videos. What can I do to help grow the sport of bowling, other than the things that I'm doing here locally and working with my high schoolers and teaching them? And I'm wondering what this channel can do, and what this group of bowlers who are committed to getting better, committed to learning about the game, what we can do as a group to help grow the sport of bowling to, it'll never be what it once was, but can we do? I haven't really had an answer to that question, but I'm going to throw it out there into the vast emptiness of space and see if anybody has any ideas of what our group, what we can do to help grow the sport and get people involved and get the older group involved. This is a great thing to do for your health. If you want to, there's 50 and 60-year-old people out there that still want to compete and have fun, and bowling is a great sport for that. So be thinking about that. Tried a PBA league back in 20 years ago. Very humbling. Yes, it is. It is. Again, I bowl these regionals, and my goal when I go is not to get last. I have never been last. I could see last. It was just over my right shoulder, but I've never been last. I need to bowl during the summer, and my options were the sport shot and a 9-pin no tap. I need practice spares, and the no tap doesn't help. You're right. So bowl the sports shot league. I think you're going to have a blast, and bring your questions to me. If hopefully it's one of these leagues where you get to bowl in the same pattern for 3 weeks in a row before they change it. And if that's the case, bring your questions to me. I'd love to help you. Okay, yeah. I will certainly do that. I have plenty of students that always like to get free lessons from me, and so what I need to do is film them. Always asking me questions. Mainly on striking, which I tend to want them to work on their spares more. But anyway. But yeah, I'll bring one of my students. Matter of fact, I've got students that want to compete against me on the channel. Which if you take any bowling teaching classes, I am a bronze level coach, looking to get my silver sometime soon. One of the things they will tell you is don't bowl against your students. It's not one of the things. I understand what they're saying, and for the most part, I'm going to adhere to that. But I've got a few that have graduated that would love to take me on. So that's what I need, free lessons. Well, if you come on Tuesday afternoons and Thursday afternoons in my hometown, and you find me working on my game, you can get a free lesson. Matter of fact, I don't charge that much for lessons anyway, because my goal is to grow the sport of bowling. I want more people bowling. It's too much fun. It can be exciting, especially high school bowling. Again, let's see. Not this weekend, but next weekend, I will be in Euless. If you want to come by and see me, I'll be at the Texas High School State Competition. Come by and say hi to me. And then the weekend, second weekend, April 11th and 12th, 13th, 14th, something like that, I will be at City View Lanes in Fort Worth on the 11th and 12th. So if you're in the area and want to come by and say hi, please do. I'm hopeful that while I'm at City View, I might get to see Carolyn Doran Ballard, maybe try to get her to come on the live at some point in time. She's got some interesting things working, and they have the Ballard, um, the Ballard University thing that they do down there, which is great. Plus, Dale Ballard's got his pro shop down there, so at City View Lanes, or at least they did. In Euless, I will be. I think I'm at a Bolero in Euless, 28th and 29th. So not this weekend, but next weekend. And I think it's a Bolero, if I'm not mistaken. You can always go to the Texas, just Google Texas High School Bowling and find out where they're bowling, and that's where I will be. All right. It is one. I've been on this for an hour and 35 minutes. I do appreciate all you guys that stayed and watched this, asked questions, made statements, listened to me being long-winded. I hope to be back next Wednesday. I will get it scheduled if that's possible. If you do not see it scheduled on the website, then I won't be doing it, but my plan is to be here next Wednesday. Yes, it's at Bolero's, yes. So I'll be at Bolero in Euless on the 28th and 29th, and City View on the 11th and 12th in Dallas. So, with all that said, there will not be another video come out this week because the one that came out today, What Ball to Use, should have been on Thursday. So my next video will be coming out on Monday, and give me 1 second here, and I'll tell you what's coming up on. Oh, yeah. So it's the video about, will a ball hook without you? Will be the video that comes out on Monday. And, yeah, that's what comes out on Monday. Oh, we have a few members that have joined the membership. We don't have a lot of benefits for our members right now, but one of the benefits is those videos will be coming up. They'll be posted on the membership only for a couple days early. So if you want to become a member, right now the only thing you are getting is little advanced copies of some of the videos that are coming out. So that means that video will be out for you on Saturday, and then, or maybe even Friday. Since we don't have a video coming up on this Thursday or Friday because that one came out today. So go and watch those 3 videos. Appreciate everybody who's here, and we will see you at 5:30 next Wednesday as Bowling Over 50